My name is Karen, and I am a compulsive overeater, sugar addict, and a chaos creator in recovery. And today I'm sharing through the lens of a food addict. So, my share today is something that I prepared for a workshop at the beginning of December. And the theme for that workshop was Hope for the Holidays. And this is the title of my share today. The word hope resounded loudly with me because it was the end of the first week of Advent. And the theme for that week of Advent was hope. I think we could all use a little hope anytime, not just this time of the year, but especially at this time of the year. Hope is defined as a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. And I don't think it is completely out there to believe that the hope that anybody with an addiction has is to be free from their disease. So today, as I attempt to share my experience, strength, and hope, I sincerely hope that the word hope sticks with you. I pray my experience is relatable, that you see my strength comes from Jesus, and my hope is that you can see there is a light and life in recovery, and that recovery is indeed possible. So I'd like to read from a book in Overeaters Anonymous called For Today. It's a little passage. It says, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all." Emily Dickinson. A hopeless compulsive overeater is the way I described myself when I came to OA. I was sure nothing could save me. Today I know that no one is without hope. Indeed, the best hope is in the very admission of hopelessness. There may seem little chance of realizing my hopes, but far from killing them, that dim prospect gives them new life. I once thought if I hoped for something, I had to pursue it frantically. That's not the recovery way. Going on about my business, doing one small necessary chore at a time, and letting my higher power, who I call God, take care of the rest, that's the recovery way. For today, I admit I can do very little about my fears, my concerns, and my hopes, but I can and do turn them over to God. Somewhere along the line of my life, I had lost hope. I can't quite pinpoint it, but I think it was sometime in my teenage years. When I started eating to comfort myself, especially sugary things, it was to stuff down my emotions and not feel normal human emotions that were too painful for me and for which I did not have the capacity to feel. I started eating sugar and I couldn't stop. I had developed a dependency that stripped me of hope of a bright future. Over the course of my life until 2019, I had a relationship with food that was more important than my relationship with God. In many ways, food was my God. I couldn't see the end of this miserable life I had created for myself. I tried physical method after physical method to stop eating compulsively and lose weight and be healthy, and nothing stuck. I tried fixing myself in my own power, not just attempts at weight loss, but attempts to fill the longing and empty places in my life with other people and things. And it destroyed my marriage and multiple relationships. And then I met people who had what I wanted, and a big component of what I wanted was hope. Hope of recovery, hope of peace, hope of being able to handle life as it comes. And I saw that those people depended on God to handle everything and to guide them to the next right thing. I desperately wanted and needed what they had. I desperately wanted and needed to know that I'm fully known by my Creator. Today, I can say that I'm living in recovery and the freedom that comes with turning my will and my thoughts and my life, my actions, over to the care of God on a daily basis. Christmas for me, growing up in Newfoundland, was always a happy time, and it still is to this day. Fortunately for me, I had a pretty uneventful and fairly happy childhood, and Christmas was a highlight for me for many different reasons. The decorations, the pageantry, the presents, time off from school, visiting family and friends that we didn't always get to spend time with, and sometimes if it was cold enough. I have fond memories of ice skating on a local pond and having a little fire on the beach. But one of the biggest components of a Newfoundland Christmas is the copious amounts of food that is available. And probably not just in Newfoundland, probably everywhere, I would say. And especially sweet things and junk food, some of which you only get at this time of the year. It was at this time of the year that I recently recalled that I'd first felt shame around food and realized that maybe I'm not a normal eater. I was reflecting about a month ago and I asked God to show me when I first felt shame and anxiety around food. And this memory that came up had been brought to the surface over the years, but I never acknowledged it or spoke about it before. There's a phrase here in Newfoundland. I don't know if all Newfoundlanders know this, but one of my family members used to say to me when we were dishing up our meals, make sure you make up your lunch or your dinner or your supper, whatever that meal was. And that meant to make sure you get enough. And they would sometimes tack on, you don't know where your next meal is coming from. I know that they said this jokingly, but as a child, it wasn't joking to me. I do remember that I used to dish up a lot of food, and I think that was why they would say that. And my grandfather was a really small man who ate a lot. And this family member would point to them and say, see, Papa's making up his lunch. So this mentality of scarcity has followed me pretty much all my life. Fear of not getting enough food or enough material things or enough love, really. Newfoundlanders love their food, and they really love to love you with food. And I don't think it's just Newfoundlanders now that I'm reflecting on it, but definitely from my experience, they love you with food and they love their food. So no matter where you go, no matter what time of the day it is, or even what time of the year it is, Christmas or not, if you visit any home down here in Newfoundland where I am right now, they're going to want to feed you. People are going to want to feed you and give you a cup of tea, of course. And this is okay for most people, but not for me. I couldn't say no, thank you, whether it was because I got excited about the food or I didn't want to disappoint somebody by not eating their lovingly prepared spread. I just couldn't say no. But now, as a compulsive overeater and sugar addict, and coming into that realization, I know that I must follow a plan of eating as part of my physical recovery. And as a people pleaser, I must stick to the boundaries that God has set for me for my own good. There's no exception to this at Christmas. This is an everyday recovery for me. My problems go deeper than physical or emotional. I have a spiritual malady. When fear and resentment run my life, I have blocks between myself and God. And the 12 steps help me remove those blocks and really show me how powerless I am and that I need power from God to be how He would have me be. And that includes being abstinent from sugar and compulsive food behaviors. So the most important part of any day for me, any time of the year, is that time spent with Him in prayer and meditation, really expressing my love for Him and my desire for unity with Him, because He is the one that is my power source. The more I'm in unity with Him, the clearer my thinking is, and the more receptive and willing I am to be led to the next right thing as He would have me. This is especially important at this time of the year when my schedule of being with family and friends and going from one event to the other can get really busy. I need to be connected to the source that keeps me sane, loving, kind, and tolerant. My first Christmas in recovery was hard. I'm here to tell you, it was, I'm not going to pretend it was easy, because it wasn't. I had a routine established in my plan of eating and my spiritual practices that were undisturbed. I'm not married, I don't have children, and I've lived alone for the past roughly 7 years. In Christmas 2019, I was headed into a full-on Newfie Christmas, as well as a wedding reception in the span of 2 weeks. And I was grieving. I was grieving the loss of a best friend in food, grieving the loss of no longer having the power of choice when it came to sugar in general. But I was especially grieving my mom's traditional Christmas baking. I didn't realize it at the time because my emotions were still a jumbled mess. But looking back now, I can see that I was grieving. I white-knuckled it through that Christmas, but that was what I needed at that time. That was months before Zoom and online meetings, and there were no Overeaters Anonymous meetings anywhere where I was for me to attend. But I got through it, only by the grace of God, by using the tools He had given me in OA and also in LifeLab. Prayer and meditation to keep me connected to God, my power source. Reading scripture and other literature to remind me every day that I am powerless over food, but there is hope, so keep holding on. And reaching out to others by text and phone calls to help me stay out of my head and keep me out of isolation. And I aim to be of service to my family, washing dishes, tidying up, really trying to be present for them without people pleasing, controlling, fixing, or running the show, but actually doing it to be a real actual help of, being part of the family while I was here. And I was reminded by my sponsor at that time that Christmas Day is just a date on the calendar. It is so much more than that to me, but realistically, using Christmas as an excuse to eat sweet foods and overeat even healthy foods is my broken thinking regarding food. It was at this same Christmas, in 2019, that I had prepared to make amends to a loved one. Working the ninth step brought me a level of peace that at that time I hadn't had up until that point in my life. That amends changed the relationship with my loved one for the better. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to attempt to make things right with them. And I'm very grateful that I get to continue to make things right with my loved one every day. This Christmas will be my 4th Christmas abstinent and in recovery. And what is different now, after journeying through the 12 steps again this past year, through an intensive big book study called Big Book Awakening, is that other than continuing to follow my plan of eating and stay within the boundaries that God has set for me, my only strategy in place to get me through this Christmas, which I'm very grateful to be spending right here in Newfoundland with my family, is spending that absolutely crucial time in prayer and meditation in the morning before I speak to anybody else, and also continuing to watch for fear, resentment, dishonesty, and selfishness as it presents itself throughout the day, as it presents itself, not if, when, because it does. God must be the first and last person I speak and listen to each day, and I must always be aware of his presence with me. So essentially, I'm to continue living at a steps 10, 11, and 12. Nothing changes at Christmas time. It's the same as every other day of the year. The step 10 continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. This looks like me spot checking throughout the day, pausing, especially when I feel agitated or discontent, to examine my motives and my feelings. Reminding myself that I am not running the show, and I no longer have the luxury of indulging these feelings, as they will lead me back to the food and creating chaos. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. For me, this is my prayer and meditation time in the morning and evening, and a constructive review of my day, not destructive. Looking back to see if I missed any resentment, fear, selfishness, or dishonesty, asking God to reveal this to me, because I might have missed something. And then asking him to forgive me for these things and asking him for direction to make amends if I've harmed anybody or how to make things right. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to compulsive overeaters, and for me also chaos creators, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And this looks like me asking God, how can I, as the actor, your agent, your child, be of service to you today? How can I serve my fellow compulsive overeaters, my fellow chaos creators, my family, my friends, my coworkers, and my community? And with that, as being of service, thank you so much for allowing me to be of service and for giving me this opportunity to share today. No, that's probably not 20 minutes, but I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.